host, The Stephen A. Smith Show, starts right now.
ESPN Radio and ESPN News coming at you as I love to do every weekday. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save pay an average of $6.99 less per year. Plus, the satisfying crunch of Nature Valley Crunchy Bars can keep your family going, which means more outside fun for you. And with the whole grain oats and real delicious honey, it's really tasty too. Nature Valley Oats and Honey Crunchy Bars. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get back to the calls, let me just say this. I want to take a moment to express my sincere and heartfelt condolences to the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, to guys like Larry Fitzgerald and Hines Ward and others, to members in the NFL community who were close to Coach Darryl Drake, and of course, by all accounts, his wonderful, wonderful family. My heartfelt condolences goes out to them. Wide receivers coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers over the last couple of years, an assistant coach in the National Football League for 16 years. Darryl Drake, Steelers wide receivers coach, passed away yesterday at the age of 62. Cause of death was not immediately known. People speculated. I don't know whether it was a heart attack or I'm not sure what happened. But he passed away at the age of 62. He was a coach. He was a close friend of Coach Mike Tomlin. That's what Mike Tomlin described him as, along with saying an amazing husband, father, and grandfather. Difficult to put into words the grief of our entire family is going through right now. Steelers had canceled their Sunday practice at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. First Take, a television show on ESPN with Max Kellerman and Molly Kiram every weekday from 10 a.m. to noon. We were scheduled to go to the Steelers training camp this Thursday. We were going to be in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, talking to Coach Tomlin and everybody else from Steelers training camp. That was canceled as well, obviously, for obvious reasons and appropriately so. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Life is short. And, he had 3 daughters, from my understanding, along with several grandchildren. Wonderful wife, Sheila, as well. Going far, far, far too soon. Condolences to the family. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Coach Darryl Drake. Wide receivers coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, passed away yesterday at age 62. 888-SAY-ESPN's number to call up. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, and, of course, ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 82. Let's go back to the calls. Let's go to Joe in Queens. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Joe?
What's going on, Mr. Smith?
How are you, man?
I'm glad that you're back, man. I hate it when you're not in the office.
No, I'm back. I'm back now. Let's go.
All right. So quick question. I mean, just to formulate an opinion from what you said earlier, I think you should have said you can't give certain people money, because I'm pretty sure if you gave like a Larry Fitzgerald,
Whoa. I wasn't stereotyping. When I'm talking about certain people, I'm talking about their behavior. I'm certainly, I'm making the argument that most people know how to damn act, regardless of their ethnicity. But it's just that when you battle the way that black folks have had to battle throughout history, and then you find yourself in this kind of position, it's incredibly important that you conduct yourself a certain way, because it gives folks who don't want to pay you an excuse to try and stereotype many. And that's what you have to guard against, not just think about yourself. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Got you. So that they don't say, hey, this is why we don't give you money. But if you act accordingly, they don't have nothing to give.
Right.
I got you. That's all I just wanted to know. I was just thinking to myself, Julio got a restructured contract. You don't see him in the news. I'm pretty sure if you gave DeAndre Hopkins big money, he wouldn't be in the news. I feel like it's just certain individuals. And also, the majority of the NFL is black.
Well, listen. And again, well, you got to remember something, Joe. We can't. You're a smart guy. You live in this society. You recognize without question, the uphill battles that minorities in this country have had to fight through and battle. My point is, you can't be one of those individuals that breaks through that proverbial glass ceiling and then act like you don't have no damn sense and think that's going to help. That doesn't. That's all I'm saying.
And act like they don't care either.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's all a part of it. Not knowing, not caring, et cetera, et cetera. You have more responsibility. Appreciate the call, Joe. Thank you so much. Carlton, my man Carlton. It's been a long time. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm okay. I tried to tell you all last season.
You
Stephen
did.
A., but
You did.
Let me part the clouds, those dark, stormy clouds, and send a ray of sunshine your way. Stephen A., Antonio Brown is not on the Steelers this coming season. He's not your problem. He's John Gruden's problem.
Well, as a Steelers fan, you're absolutely right. But more importantly than that, I just view his behavior in this particular situation as being completely egregious and unnecessary, and that's why I'm speaking on it.
And here's the real problem from my perspective, Stephen A., with this Antonio Brown situation. It's one player acting up again. Last year, this was made to be a black-white issue in the NFL. It honestly was on all the sports stations. It was all the favoritism of Ben Roethlisberger versus poor, abused Antonio Brown. When Antonio Brown skipped out after Game 2 because he was upset that Juju Schuster caught, I think it was 13 catches for 121 yards, and he only got 67 yards against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
Who was he stiffing when he didn't show up for practice? Was it the majority of the African-American players on the Steelers, or was it Ben Roethlisberger that he was stiffing? When he called Ryan Clark and Uncle Tom, was he stiffing some white guy, or was he stiffing an African-American?
That's true.
When he didn't show up in Week 17, when they needed that win to have a shot of making the playoffs, was he stiffing mostly his African-American teammates, or was he stiffing Ben Roethlisberger? When he slandered Juju Schuster after the season was over, was he stiffing Ben Roethlisberger, or was he stiffing an African-American? This was never about white versus black, Stephen A. Never. It was about one self-absorbed guy who basically tells his teammates, and now it's his Oakland Raiders teammates, the majority of whom are African-American, to kick rocks. I'm going to do what I want to do, even when the Oakland Raiders restructured his contract, giving him that guaranteed $30 million. They could have just taken the Steelers contract, which had 1 year left. No, they gave him premium money. They showed trust in this guy, and this guy is basically giving him the middle finger right now.
Well, that's the whole point.
What's going on, Stephen A.
That's exactly what's going on. And you said it in a slightly different way than me, but our message is the same today. And I think that's exactly what comes down to. And you talk about the folks that he's stiffing, you're talking about him thinking about himself instead of the collective whole and the kind of potential damage this could ultimately do down the line, because you can't have people emulating these kind of actions. You can't have them duplicating such transgressions. It's just ridiculous. When you're talking about getting $30 million in guaranteed dollars, Carlton, and walking away because of a helmet issue that the league has warned you about for 5 years, that every other player in the National Football League has capitulated to but you, it makes no sense, Carlton. It's inexcusable.
Exactly right. And it's like you say, it's behavior that outside of pro sports players, if you emulate it, it's going to get you fired, justifiably so.
Yeah.
It's going to get you fired.
We don't disagree today.
And so it's really, really bad. One additional point on a different subject. Again, an issue that became a black-white issue for some insane reason. The argument about Dwayne Haskins versus Daniel Jones, and the Giants making a supposed mistake by drafting Daniel Jones ahead of Dwayne Haskins. Of course, you saw Haskins throw the 2 picks in his first game, and Jones go 5 for 5 with a touchdown and look really good. Obviously, early days. But here's the point that the Max Kellermans of the world and every other analyst I've seen on ESPN do not understand. Do you know how many Duke players are right now from last year's team, the 2018 Duke players, are on NFL rosters?
I do not
right
know.
now.
I do not know that.
That's 0 besides Daniel Jones. There was a wide receiver, Roming, that got cut by the Redskins yesterday, but he was undrafted. He wasn't even drafted. Do you know how many Ohio State players from last
I can't
year's
even
team?
imagine it.
13, Stephen A. 9 of them on offense, including 3 of the wide receivers that Haskins was throwing to, and a 4th guy who decided to go back would have been in the NFL if he didn't decide to go back to the Ohio State. He for his final season. He had so much more talent around him to throw to, whereas Daniel Jones had nobody who's an NFL caliber player to throw to.
Well, come on, Carlton, but that's one preseason game, Carlton. Come on now.
No, I don't disagree with you there. But those statistics in terms of who Daniel Jones was surrounded with at Duke versus who Dwayne Haskins was surrounded with at Ohio State is truth. I mean, those wide receivers are speed burners. In the combines, they set all sorts of records and so forth. The Ohio State receivers. That's the difference. So we're going to have to see, if he can, duplicate it even up, basically. When we're both working with pro receivers.
I got you. Carlton, appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Welcome, and it's great to be back, by the way. It's just great to be back. Great to listen to Carlton as well. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Got some breaking news for everybody here, something that you may very, very well need to know. If you recall, the NCAA came down with a rule a little over a week ago that caused an uproar. It's new criteria for agents interested in representing players testing the NBA draft waters. You were required to have a bachelor's degree, a National Basketball Players Association certification for at least 3 consecutive years, professional liability insurance, and completion of an in-person exam taken in early November at the NCAA office in Indianapolis. Rich Paul, that's what the rule was dubbed by LeBron James, because he felt like, this rule was geared against somebody like a Rich Paul because his clientele continues to grow every day. The founder and CEO of Clutch Sports Group, that is, Rich Paul, LeBron's boy. Well, Rich Paul had spoken out against it. And when he was quoted, he said the harmful consequences of this decision will ricochet onto others who are trying to break in, Paul said in an op-ed for The Athletic. NCAA executives are once again preventing young people from less prestigious backgrounds, and often people of color, from working in the system they continue to control. In this case, the people being locked out are kids who aspire to be an agent and work in the NBA and do not have the resources, opportunity, or desire to get a 4-year degree. I actually support requiring 3 years of experience before representing a kid testing the market. I can even get behind passing a test. However, requiring a 4-year degree accomplishes only one thing: systematically excluding those who come from a world where college is unrealistic. Does anyone really believe a 4-year degree is what separates an ethical person from a con artist? Right? And then it went on to say, though he does not have a bachelor's degree, Paul Clutch Sports represents LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Ben Simmons, Draymond Green, John Wall, and other various NBA players. Well, that was Rich Paul with his op-ed in The Athletic. Okay? And now news has come down. Breaking news. Over the last few minutes, the NCAA has amended its controversial agent certification requirements. A bachelor's degree is no longer required to represent players testing the process as long as the agent is certified by the National Basketball Players Association. So they basically taken out the bachelor's degree requirement. Here's what a lot of y'all were missing. So many people were talking about the NCAA. But did you know that the NCAA at the time only took on a recommendation of the group led by Condoleezza Rice? Y'all didn't know that, did you? Y'all didn't know that. Condoleezza Rice, David Robinson, Grant Hill, and others, okay? That's what happened. So they originally gave the recommendation to the NCAA, and the NCAA followed it. Why is that relevant? Because when everybody was in an uproar, people were tinging on, it being racially biased, including LeBron James. And 3 prominent black people were on the committee that made the recommendation to the NCAA, and nobody brought that up. Condoleezza Rice, Grant Hill, David Robinson. And the whole purpose of it was to try to protect players looking to enter the pros who may not be getting the proper level of advice, and as a result had to guard themselves against that kind of stuff. Remember, the group came together because of the FBI's exposure of widespread bribery, fraud, and cheating in college basketball. They were trying to clean up the sport. So they formed a group with people of high accomplishments and high integrity. And it was led by Condoleezza Rice. It's a 14-person commission. Grant Hill, former star Duke, David Robinson, former NBA star, Coach Mike Montgomery and John Thompson III, former Florida Athletic Director Jeremy Foley, current Ohio State Athletic Director Gene Smith. So they made concessions, they ultimately made modifications, and they took out that ruling. Because basically some people don't have access to college, contrary to what you believe, and some people ain't interested in going to college for a 4-year degree. And sometimes it ain't even necessary. You know why? Because even though you might know what you're doing, that doesn't mean you don't have a lawyer in tow that you employ to go through the legalese of matters while you sit there as an agent. And why is that important? Because if you're a player, you might not trust a lawyer, but you might trust a Rich Paul. You might trust an Aaron Goodwin. You might trust a Bill Duffy, even though these are high, accomplished individuals. And so as a result of that, they're the ones that bring in others unless they can do it themselves. And those are the individuals that the players trust. Just something to know. Hunter, real. Man, stop right there. Stop right there.
All right.
Didn't you tell my producers you wanted to call about the Rich Paul rule?
Yeah.
Then I'm not talking about the Knicks right now. Get to the Rich Paul rule.
All right. I think the Rich Paul rule was kind of bullcrap because it's trying to limit people from what they want to do. Because I mean, if a player wants them to represent them, it's their choice at the end of the day.
That's true too. But what did you think about the modification that I just announced that the NCAA just made? Where they're not requiring you to have a bachelor's degree.
I think that's a good idea. I think it's the certification from the NBA is a little extreme. I think the test is a good idea though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you there. The test is fine. Some of the other stipulations are fine as long as you omit the 4-year bachelor's degree requirement. I got no problem with that. I got to get on out of here, Hunter. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Listen, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. You're the NCAA. You got to be mindful. Most of these athletes in college football and college basketball, which are the two revenue-generating sports in college sports, you got a lot of African Americans in those sports. And whether you like it or not, even though you lean on others, the reality of the situation is that sometimes you have athletes of African American descent who want to hire African Americans as their representation. And you don't want to do anything to impede that. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Up next, the one and only Victor Cruz, former Giants wide receiver, present NFL analyst for ESPN. He'll be up with yours truly right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
ESPN serves sports fans anytime, anywhere. ESPN Plus. More sports, more leagues, more teams, more ESPN. Download the ESPN app or visit ESPN.com today.